A millionaire ruined by drunkards. In the time of the Lord Buddha, there was a family of bankers who had 80 million to their name. The son was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, and his parents loved him so much that when they got older, they pleaded with him just to live off the family inheritance and never to earn his living. They said,
"You are only child. Even if you were to spend the money all your life, there is so much you would surely never manage to use it all up.
So, just take it easy. It would be much better than the stress of earning a living."
The son didn't like working for a living anyway, so he agreed wholeheartedly. He settled down to the onerous task of spending his parents' fortune and passed the time playing the guitar or singing songs. In another nearby town, there was a daughter born to another banker's family, and her parents loved her so much that when they got older, they pleaded with her in just the same way, just to live off the family inheritance and never to earn her living. They said,
"You are only child. Even if you were to spend the money all your life, there is so much you would surely never manage to use it all up.
So please take it easy. It would be much better than the stress of earning a living. You could live nearby us, so we won't get lonely in our old age."
The daughter agreed and whiled away her time, spending her parents' fortune. When both the daughter and the son came of age, both families looked for a worthy partner for their child. They found a worthy partner in each other, and so their marriage was arranged. This couple was amply provided for, but they had no idea how to manage their wealth. At the time, when the parents on both sides of the family passed away, the couple had been left with a total inheritance of 160 million. The millionaire boy would seek audience with the king 3 times a day. In that town, there was a group of drunkards. They would get drunk and chatter idly and dream of ways to be able to get free drinks their whole life long, because they thought alcohol was the greatest drink in the world. One day, they came up with the idea of persuading some wealthy person to become an alcoholic like themselves. Then, they would be able to manipulate that millionaire's wealth. They did their homework and found out how rich the millionaire boy was. They found out that he went for royal audience 3 times a day, and what route he took on the way back from the palace with his retinue. The next day, the drunkards waited nearby the millionaire boy's usual route and acted like they were having tremendous fun. When they saw the millionaire boy, they toasted him, shouting,
"May you live to be 100 years old."
The millionaire asked his manservant, who was a drunk himself,
"What are those guys doing?"
The manservant said,
"The men are drinking a drink called alcohol."
Which at that time was not well known. The millionaire asked,
"What does the word alcohol mean?"
The manservant replied in the manner of an alcoholic,
"It is the most delicious drink in the world. If you were to have just a sip of alcohol, you would feel very lively. You will be a new person. It will reduce cholesterol. If you have a high blood pressure, it will reduce your blood pressure. If you have low blood pressure, it will raise your blood pressure. It's good for you in every way."
The millionaire boy said,
"If that is the case, bring some alcohol for me to try."
He thought he would only have a sip, but the taste was so seductive he felt intoxicated. All the drunkards gathered around him, cheering him on to drink more, and that is exactly what he did. He drank more and more until he wasn't himself anymore. The drunkards smirked to themselves. The millionaire boy kept on paying for more drinks for himself and drinks for all of the other cronies too, because it's no fun to drink alone. You have to have company when you are drinking. so that you can chat and boast and tell tall stories. And just getting drunk wasn't enough. He would go out buying expensive flower garlands and would invite musicians and dancers to perform for him and would always reward them with lavish prizes. He would do the same thing every day. Before long, all that was left of his fortune were empty treasure chests. The treasurer came to advise the millionaire boy that there was nothing left of his fortune of 80 million. The millionaire boy asked,
Doesn't my wife have some money to her name?
The treasurer answered,
Yes, sir, she does still have some wealth.
Therefore, as soon as the millionaire boy got his hands on his wife's fortune, he continued his drunken extravagance as before until eventually the fortune was exhausted again. Now, in order to raise some cash, he was reduced to selling all his beautiful estate. To slake his thirst, he sold off his orchards, his coach and horses, trinkets around the house, and eventually the house itself. In the beginning, they asked the permission of the new owner to stay on in their former house. Their handsome looks became forlorn. In their old age, they were driven from the house by the new owners, so they had to wander from one house to another, looking for refuge. Eventually, they had to resort to a begging bowl to feed themselves. One day, the Lord Buddha, with Ananda as his attendant, passed through that town, and seeing the husband and wife begging for the monks' leftovers by the monks' refectory, the Buddha smiled to himself. Seeing the Buddha smile, Ananda asked the reason. The Buddha replied,
Ananda, look at this millionaire son, formerly rich, but who has squandered 160 million, and who must now take his wife around begging for a living in the city. If this millionaire's son had not squandered his wealth, but in his youth had invested in business, he would be the richest man in the city by now, because he has a lot of merit in his past. If he had renounced the world in his youth, he would have become an arahant. If his wife had renounced the world as a nun in her youth, she would have become a non-returner. If this millionaire's son had squandered his wealth only in his youth, but in middle age had invested his wealth in business, his previous merits would have caused him to become the second richest man in the city. If he had decided to renounce the world in the Middle Age, he would have become a non-returner. And his wife, if she had ordained as a nun, would have become a once-returner. If this millionaire's son had squandered his wealth in his youth and his middle age, but had invested his wealth in his old age, his previous merit would have caused him to become the third richest man in the city. And if he had decided to renounce the world in his old age, he would have become a once-returner. If his wife had ordained as a nun, she would have become a stream-enterer. Unfortunately, this couple have completely squandered their wealth and have lost their opportunity to cultivate the path to nirvana. Ananda, foolish people who fail to cultivate virtue in their lives and who fail to earn their living when they are young will become forlorn like an aging heron, living in a dried-up pond with no more fish to prey upon. They had not cultivated virtue in their youth, nor earned their living either. In their old age, all they can do now is reminisce with regret about their former wealth, like an arrow that falls to earth when its momentum has run out.
Therefore, the harm of alcohol, apart from it destroying the drinker, also ruins the lives of the rest of the drinking family, destroys our wealth and security, and obscures the pathway to nirvana. This is the harmfulness of alcohol. Therefore, if you have alcohol in your possession, stop drinking it. Pour it away and discard the bottles. Make sure your home is alcohol-free.